Welcome to Season 9 of the Charity Matters podcast. I'm Heidi Johnson, nonprofit founder, lifelong helper, and your host. I've been interviewing modern day heroes for over a decade with my blog, and I'm so excited to share these inspiring conversations on our top rated podcast. Join me as we learn the challenges and stories of innovators, entrepreneurs, and modern day heroes who set out to solve the problems of humanity. Did you know that less than 2% of the population feed 100% of us? Think about that. Today's guest is no stranger to this fact. DiPrima is the founder of For Farmers Movement, and I am so excited to share her amazing journey and inspiring conversation about what she's doing to make an enormous difference in this world for all of us and for farmers. You're not going to want to miss it. I'm so excited to have DiPrima here today from For Farmers Movement. Dana, welcome. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I don't always get such a great reception. I think it's really fun to get to talk to somebody in the nonprofit space who is so excited about, doing good. It's great.
Well, I'm so excited because I think that people are focusing on the wrong people in our world. We're not focusing on the people who do good. And so it always makes me so joyful to meet someone who is using their life to make the world better for other people. And so it's just a privilege for me, and it's a privilege for everyone listening to get to know you. So we're really excited. But just to jump in, why don't you just tell us really quickly what For Farmers Movement does and what it's about?
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about it because it's doing such great work. We're just on the heels of announcing 100 grants, and it is
Wow.
since 2022 now we have done 291 grants to farmers across the country in 48 states and one territory. And that is just a small piece of what the For Farmers Movement does. It really started because I felt like when you say we're focusing on the wrong people, I think sometimes, we go about our busy lives and we don't think about the people who are doing things that are essential to our society, right? Like
Right.
we just take them for granted. And I felt like, um, I sort of crept into the farmer space accidentally through a little accidental farm that I have.
And we're going
And
to get into that, and we're going to slowly
I
unpack
know
that.
it's a crazy, crazy, crazy
So,
world, but it really introduced me to some of my local farmers who were the most fun, amazing people. And I started listening, to what they were saying and what they were doing. And, long story short, I started the For Farmers Movement because I feel like you and me and all of our friends and their friends, like we need to focus on the people who are essential like this, the farmers who are
right.
providing us with delicious food, with healthy food for us and for our families because we care about our health. They're knitting together our communities. I mean, even the grants that we are just awarding now, a lot of them are grants to a farmer who's going to turn to another farmer to buy something in order to make their project work. So
Oh,
it's farmer
interesting.
to farmer in their local community, or they need equipment, they're going to buy it locally. So they're knitting together their own communities. And they're the ones, when we think about, oh gosh, it's so confusing. Like, what do we do about the climate? What do we do about our environment? Should I drive a hybrid? Should I recycle? Is recycling working? Should I stop
Right.
using paper towels? You tell me the 5 things I can do to help the climate. The one thing you can do is shop with a local farmer because they're the ones on the front line with the earth. And
Right.
good inputs are so important, and regenerative farming and, making sure that there's a land, water air balance. They're the ones who can do it. They're actually doing it. And I think that's
Right.
incredibly exciting. And then every single small farm across our country, they are local economic drivers. every one of them. And so sometimes people are like, oh, is it really a problem that we have bigger farms and we're consolidating? I'm like, yes. Because would you
Yeah,
rather have one giant farm that's an economic driver? Or would you rather have 200 small farms, each
right.
driving your local economy? So,
I
those are
love
all the reasons. And I don't know. So, yeah, the For Farmers movement, we do grants, but we do a lot of other things too, and we can get into that.
I am just so excited. And I was saying to Dana before we started talking, when all my hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nonprofit founder interviews, I have never interviewed someone who does what you do to help farmers. And I love this. I'm so excited for so many reasons. But just to rewind kind of the story before we really unpack how you got here, I always like to kind of find out people's just early beginnings. Was there someone in your family or your community or when you look back that inspired service or giving, or was it always in your DNA? Or what do you kind of think about your early thoughts about giving and service before you even got to your career or any of this?
You know, I think it's always been a little bit a part of my DNA. I'm not 100% sure where it came from, except that in my, first years out of college and every job I've had, every career that I've had has always been about connecting the dots between people in communities. I've worked in everything from government to nonprofits to corporations to community-based organizations, and the thread between all of that is, doing moving the needle for good.
Right,
Even, when you work, I don't know, in a government job and you're making, some small improvements, it's still an improvement. And I think
right,
it's sort of everybody wants to do something right now that's going to make a big, big, big difference. And I think it's important to know that, like, in your life, the little things that you do that are good, they add up. And even when I worked
amen.
in a big corporation, with all the media moguls and whatnot, I was the good girl. I was the
Well,
I was the head of cause related marketing, and everybody was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Let me show you how to have a heart and a soul." So, I mean, it's been a long and interesting ride, but I think I bring everything to bear here in the For Farmers movement, everything that I've experienced, all of the charities I've worked with, all of the innovative ideas, and all of the questions too, because people have questions like,
right,
why would I give to you? Why would I do that? How am I, Dana, gonna get your attention? Right? Like, what's
right.
important
With
to you?
1.6 million nonprofits in the space,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yes,
to overwhelm
exactly.
you or anything, Dana,
No,
sorry.
no, no, not at all.
But I mean, you helped create campaigns like the St. Jude Thanksgiving campaign. I mean, things that like huge, you were part of huge nonprofits. And sometimes I have to say that um like you who is working for the small guy and advocating for the small farmer, I feel like I'm a little bit of an advocate for the smaller nonprofit. And there's no shade on St. Jude, who does incredible work, and all these huge organizations that move the needle in ginormous ways. I have nothing but respect because we all start at the beginning and we get to where we get. But when I think about some of the causes you worked for and some of the really big, huge movements that raised a lot of money and created a lot of change. I
I don't
mean,
get a chance to talk about those very often, but with St. Jude Thanksgiving, I think the one thing that I learned is from Marlo Thomas is never say die. She does not take no for an answer. She is a powerhouse. She has a lot of positivity, but she will get right in your face and she's like, "We're not going for no. We're not
right.
going for no, not today."
Wow.
And that was an amazing experience. I have like the most respect for her. What a visionary. And, that charity started really from absolutely nothing, from a prayer from her father.
Right.
That is it. And then, when I worked for Jones Apparel Group, very proud of the work that we did in education, connecting Jones Apparel Group with teachers. We did not look at big nonprofits. We did not. We looked at the little ones and we made a real difference with
Awesome.
Adopt a Classroom. We made a real difference with a teacher fund that helped teachers go on sabbatical to refuel and we worked on an incredible campaign with another teacher nonprofit that was called Behind Every Famous Person is a Fabulous Teacher,
Oh,
bringing it
I
right back
love
down to earth.
that.
And
I
so
love
I think,
that.
you know, all of that, you have to get people's attention in 100 different ways. You have to
Right.
be tenacious. You have to, you know, you have to never quit. All of those things. I mean, it all adds up.
But it all leads to this, it's the journey that we're on. And that's what I think is so fascinating because people don't just wake up and start a nonprofit. There's a lot of things that happen. And, I usually say, and not to, every story is unique and different, but almost every single person knows the moment that they knew they had to do this. So why don't you share what was happening in your life and what led you to this? Because you did have this big corporate life and you had this big career and something shifted, something happened. So kind of lead us on that journey that you realized you needed to do this.
Well, I mean, if you look at it from like an the 35,000 foot view, it might not make any sense at all because prior to starting the Four Farmers movement, I was the commissioner for 10 years for the largest youth soccer league in the country. So I was like a soccer mom, but like a soccer mom on
Next
steroids.
next level soccer
Yeah,
mom.
4,200 kids. So that doesn't really make any sense, except that it's a community. And it's a
Right,
community of, you know, people who need support and need direction, direction to be like a good
right.
parent on the sideline and all those things. So I think sometimes it doesn't make any sense. But I since 2008, I've had some a property up in the Western Catskills. And, I also live in New York City, so the comparison between the Western Catskills and New York City is
Right.
pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I would
And
say.
I also had little kids at the time, and my daughter's like, "Can we get some chickens?" And I mean, as a mom, I'm like, "Yep, sure, why not? Let's get what a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
idea."
Right.
So we got chickens, I literally did not blink. We got chickens, and the farmer brought the chickens over and put them in this little cute coop that we had. And we didn't know that he had delivered them. And my daughter went and opened the chicken coop, and one of them flew out. And I called that farmer. I'm like, Mark, the chicken got out. I don't know what to do. It's like in a bush. It's like hiding. I can't get to it. And I had never picked up a chicken. And
Ah,
so he listened to me. Yeah, Okay, Dana. He goes, Dana, I got to tell you one thing. I was like, what? What's that? He's like, find your inner predator. And he hung up on me.
uh,
And so I hunted down that chicken with big leather fireplace gloves on because I was a total
oh my God.
chicken. I caught that darn chicken and I never looked back.
Pun
And that,
intended.
yeah. And Mark and other farmers that I've become friends with, have served as a touchstone. I think they also think I'm a little like crazy and they want to just see how far I'll go. So I went from chickens to goats. I went from goats
And
to
I'm
a duck.
having a Green Acres flashback. And I know that
Oh
for our younger
yeah.
audience, they won't know what that is. But I'm having a serious Green Acres. I'm hearing in the background. Green Acres is
I
the
know.
place to
If I could
be.
sing, I'd sing it for you.
Farm living is the life I see.
Yeah, it
I
is.
hear it right now.
And I think there's plenty of people who have this little like, oh, I just want a little farm. It's so much
Right,
fun.
right,
I am living proof that I mean every single animal that I've ever brought onto my farm, and it's been many, many, many. I mean, we have had a relationship that did not ever start well. They were,
right,
testing me and I was trying to boss
right.
them around and like, they run the show. But yeah, donkeys, goats, ducks, chickens, bees, 17 gardens that I do myself. I mean, so yeah, I've just sort of gone off the deep
So
end
you
there.
become this kind of accidental farmer in 2008. But becoming a farmer and having a farm and having a nonprofit are two very different things. And obviously you're a doer, you're a worker, you're a thinker, you're an entrepreneur, you're a creator. So those things are already in you. But when did the two come together?
Well, I think. starting to understand farmers just through that experience and having a lot of
Right.
farmers in my life, like, oh, you could do this, oh, you could do that, oh, what about this? And my neighbors, grew up on a farm, and I started interviewing farmers in 2019 in a podcast called Talk Farm to Me. And really, I was just a
Ah,
microphone. I just held up a microphone. I wanted farmers to tell their stories. I wanted you to hear them because they're
right.
amazing. And what they do to get the butter to your table is nothing short of miraculous. Your hamburger it took 2 to 3 years to get to the plate, period.
Right.
And that is daily work on your one little burger that you have on Friday with your friends.
Right.
So I just felt those stories were worth telling, and I started telling them. I started finding farmers I wanted to talk to. A pandemic hit, and so farmers for the first time were considered essential, and that was exciting. And
Right.
like, oh my gosh, it's like now I can actually tell my kids that this might be a good profession because people are valuing what we've got and what we're doing. And
Right.
it was
Right.
this major spotlight moment for farmers. And then, poof, overnight, it disappeared. Now, it doesn't mean that there wasn't like a small lift with a new plateau, but it definitely came back down from that. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to find a farmer. I have to get a CSA. Where am I going to get my eggs from? I'm going to get backyard chickens,
Right.
all of this, this real shift.
Right.
And, and so just I kept listening to farmers. And then in 2022, I actually went to a conference, right, you know, in the middle of kind of the pandemic that we thought was going to end really quickly. And
Right.
I was listening to a woman speak about community, and she had a lot of energy, and she just made some excellent points about how to not just do good yourself, but how to bring your community along with you. And her name's
Well,
Natalie
that's what
Frank.
nonprofit founders are. That's
Yeah,
what we do. We're community builders. That's
exactly.
what
What I
every
mean, you can't do it
organization,
alone.
right? Every organization
Cannot
is a
do it
community
alone.
builder, right?
Exactly. So that was Natalie Frank. She's a small business expert, and I just the words that she said, I think they just connected a couple of dots for me. And I literally went home from that conference. It was a conference hosted by Molly Ballant, who is a soft business leader. And she has been my coach all these years. And I went home and I literally, in a vent, wrote a 40-page manifesto and called Molly on the phone. And I was like, I have to make a presentation to you, and you have to tell me if I'm nuts. I think her answer was yes,
Wow.
and yes, you are nuts, and you should
Wow.
do it. Hmm. So I started
Wow.
there, and in 2022, I actually didn't think I would do any funding for, maybe I was like, okay, well, maybe in 10 years I'll get to the funding part, but let me figure out what the bones are for this whole thing. And that went out the window. And I did a
And you were
six.
still full time in your job and still commuting between both properties. You're still living in the city and still
I was in
working and
both
still,
places. I was in
yeah,
both
both
places.
places. Right.
Um, so yeah, so I did a 6 grant
And
experiment. So what I did is I started it, and it's actually really funny if I'm looking for like old numbers, it's really challenging to find them because I started this whole thing on Instagram. So I went on Instagram and I was like, okay, everybody, listen to me. You got to find your local farmers. I want you to tag them in this post and to nominate them for a grant. Talk about like who your farmers are, and we will consider them for a grant. We'll invite them. Okay, so that was a mess. So they tagged their farmers, and we had like 300 nominations that way. Then I have to get in
oh,
touch with the
wow.
farmers through Instagram. Hey, you don't know me, but somebody nominated you for a
Right.
grant.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I know year one was nuts, but
Right.
we had a bunch of applications, and we awarded 6 farmers grants, one in Kodiak, Alaska, one in Newark, New Jersey, uh, one in Illinois, one in Maine, and one in Kansas, and one somewhere else, and Indiana. And it was just the proof that, I called them mini grants. Farmers can stretch a dollar like nobody's business. I'm telling you.
Right.
There's not one farmer out there who doesn't have a project on the back burner that would help further their farm, that would help them out of a pinch, that would help them get to the next level. There's just not one farmer that doesn't have that. And so small
And
grants of
right. And
500 and $1,000 landed in the pockets of these farmers, and they used them in a way that was really magical for their farm and for their communities. And that launched me on I better get my ducks in a row on how to do nominations. And I want to say this as
wow.
I look back on the beginning and I can poke holes. I mean, we're all our biggest
But
critics.
there's no manual. Okay, there supposedly there is nonprofits for dummies now. It does exist. I've never read it. No one that I interviewed has ever read it, but no one has read a manual, and no one who started a nonprofit knew what they were doing. And no one set out with an intention to start a nonprofit. They set out with an intention to help a situation that came to their
Yeah.
attention, and
I
that
don't
they
think I
knew that
was
they
going to
could
start a
maybe help.
nonprofit, really.
Right.
I
I
don't think I
mean,
was. I don't know that I was doing something that I thought
right.
was
And
important to do. But when I look back, there are bones that were essential, and sometimes you just have to pat yourself on the back and say this was a really smart choice. And so the most important thing that I did at that time were nominations, mainly because how are you going to find out about my grant? I'm not going to drive down the road and stop in your farm and like knock on the door,
right.
then go to the barn and like
Right.
I'm not going to put out flyers. Maybe you're not even on social media. You
Social
might not have
media, right.
email.
Because you're so busy, you might not have Wi-Fi, you're working all
Exactly.
day.
But the other part of that was that my biggest aha from that podcast is that farmers are invisible. It is not fun to be invisible if you've ever felt invisible, or any listener you have, I'm sure
Right.
you have. I felt invisible. Sometimes you can be invisible in your friend group. Sometimes you can be invisible with your family, in your community. You can work
Right.
hard. You get dinner on the table every night and, nobody's even clearing their plates. All right. So, like sometimes that just feels lousy. And I just saw this with farmers. They're invisible every day. We don't know where that bag of carrots in the grocery store came from. Nobody has any idea, and we can't thank them. And farmers are
And,
also incredibly proud, and farmers don't have their hands out for charity. And this is not a
right.
charity. This is an
Right.
opportunity for you to have an investment in a
Investment.
farmer in your community. And
Right.
it's a permission giver, that nomination, but it's also honor. It is me honoring you for the hard work that you're doing. And if you don't go any further than receiving a nomination, if you don't apply for a grant, if you never connect with the For Farmers movement, but you know that somebody in your community who you know or don't know honored your work, that is meaningful.
Right. Absolutely. So talk to me about some of the challenges because, you aren't really sure you want to support the farmers, you want to give them a voice, but you have this big career and you have all these and you have children and you have a soccer league and you have all these
Oh, well,
things
I'm not
going.
doing
So
any of
talk to
that anymore. I'm just doing For Farmers, just to put
no,
your
I
mind
know
at
that. I
rest.
know that. But when you were starting, what were some of the challenges? Because you know a lot, but you don't really know,
Well, I had
about
some
starting
messages that thought like, okay, I think this is spam. So you
right,
sort of have to build trust over time and you have to be patient for that. I was like, well, it's not
right.
spam. But if you think it is, just, you know what, sign up here and next year you'll see it isn't spam. And maybe,
So
and then I think,
what were the hardest things? Yeah, what was like, I mean, just getting the
well,
word out or
uh, the hardest things it's like a daisy chain of hardest things. I think that this year is the first year in 2025, the end of 2025, that I don't feel like I'm carrying it on my back. I feel like
oh,
it's moving on its own.
amen.
In 2024,
Congratulations.
thank you. I mean, there's work to be done, but I feel like there are a lot of people invested in the For Farmers movement, from small farmers to their supporters to people across the country who, value their health or their communities or their economy or their environment, and they feel like this is a
Right.
great touchstone and an opportunity. I think that people are busy, 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 and they care about a lot of things, including all of the things that I've mentioned. I'm helping them figure out more why they need to care about their small farmers, but it's so important to me to be able to give people small actions that have a big impact. And we are built, if nothing, on that.
Right.
And so I think, that's really important. As far as the big challenges, listen, I've given away almost $200,000 in grants since
Whoa.
2022, and every year the ticker starts January 1, I got to raise more money. So
Yes, it
that's always
does.
challenging. But I'm sincere when I say this, and this is really the spirit of the For Farmers movement, is that a dollar from a million people is more valuable to me and to the movement and to our small farmers than $1 million from one person, which I would accept,
Right.
of course. But those million people voting with that $1, a lot of people, friends of mine, they're like, okay, sure, I'll just give you a dollar. I'm like, Chris, I know you can afford more than a dollar, but if you couldn't, that
Right.
$1 is incredibly meaningful to me and to farmers, because when I give a grant of $1,000 and I tell that farmer there are 1,000 people standing in their field,
Right.
recognizing them, applauding them, cheering them on, supporting them, thinking they're valuable, that is more meaningful than a big corporate check, which I would
A
also accept.
100%. 100%. So what do you think? I mean, you think about the farmers who are toiling all day, who are working so hard, oftentimes to keep their family land and to keep their, everything going. And a lot of them are generational farmers. Um, but when, you still have laundry, a life, people relying on you, money to raise, an organization to run, what fuels you to keep going? Because there are days, because I think that the difference between having a nonprofit versus a regular for-profit business is that we carry the weight of people at the end of the day. We are thinking about those farmers. We're thinking about the child that didn't eat. We're thinking about things that are bigger than we didn't make enough pencils today in our pencil factory or whatever it is. And
Oh,
so what
yeah.
fuels you in those moments when it's really hard and you think, what have I started? What am I doing? Um, like how did I get here? What fuels you to keep going in those moments?
Well, on the one side, I get a farmer calling me crying on the phone that she is so excited that as a 10th year farmer, that she just got a grant to do something that's going to move her farm, and that she can't believe that the For Farmers movement, or the community that nominated her, that we're behind her. So I can't I can't tell you how meaningful that is. And on the other side, I have farmers in my inbox saying, I'm so disappointed that we didn't get a grant. We put it all on the table.
Mhm. And
And
the
this
and the
morning,
it,
this morning, a follower sent me a farm on the coast in New Hampshire who had a huge fire.
Mhm.
So what can I do, right? I mean, we have an
Right,
emergency fund and we have wish lists, which are a great way to support, small farmers, is to go and shop their wish list. You can, I mean,
right,
I think even if you have a fire, you still need work gloves. And if you
right,
can afford, 14.99 to send some work gloves. I got a message from my daughter the other day that she sent socks to a farmer and she got a message that they were delivered. So she's 24 years old. Like, where is everybody? Let's go. Let's shop.
right,
Just go
right.
to the wish lists and you can find a farmer in your state. We have 97 farmers and growing on the wish list. So,
I
again, it's just
love that.
really easy to go and just, click, send.
I think Christmas shopping, my niece is animal obsessed. I mean, completely 12 years old. If I could just plop her on a farm, that would be her idea of
Well, maybe she can help you
nirvana.
shop. You can find a
But I
farm
think
with pigs or
I
cows or ducks.
I think that she would love to help farmers for Christmas. Well, she's
So much
probably
fun.
going to, whether she knows it or not, but I think it's probably going to be a great idea. So you mentioned when we first started talking about impact, and I know impact comes in grants, and you've talked a lot about what that means, but impact is you mentioned is more than the money and obviously the community. But what do you think your real impact to you, what do you think the impact has been? Is it the relationship with the farmers? Is it the expansion of community? Because I hate when we have to write grants as nonprofits rather than give them away, that we are measured to these things that have no soul, that have no, and impact can come in so many ways. It can be a story, it's not always a statistic or a number. So I'm just curious what your impact, what you really think of what it is
Well,
to you.
I mean, I count I count a lot of numbers, right? Like so
Right?
when I say that we are in 291 grants in 48 states and one territory, I think that speaks volumes. When we have a People's Choice Award and 45 farmers submit little videos about projects that they would love to do, and I let you vote on what those projects are, and you show up and we have over 20,000 votes, to me that's impact.
Wow,
um,
that's awesome.
Having 97 farmers on on the wish list for farmers so that people can go and support their farmers directly. It gives farmers the tools that they need to ask for help in a way that's cute and fun, as opposed to a way that's like, oh, poor me, which nobody wants to feel that way. So all of those things, I count and count and count. And I keep track of all of that information. But more important than any of that is that every single farmer that I have ever supported with a grant has said it's about way more than the money. And as
Isn't
far as
that
I'm
beautiful?
concerned, that impact is about them being seen, them being recognized. And it's not just at grants time. I have a social media account called XOXO Farm Girl, which, nod to Gossip Girl way back in the day. Um, but there I share facts and figures. I mean, did you know that less than 2% of our population are farmers? They're feeding 100% of us, but there's less than 2% of the people in the United States are working as farmers or ranchers. Or did you know that we've
Wow.
lost 141,271 farmers between 2017 and 2022? Those are the most up-to-date numbers, and they've gone through the roof. We've
I
lost
knew that we've been losing them. And tell me that number again. How many have we lost?
141,271 between 2017 and
Wow.
2022. And that equates to over 20 million acres in farmland that we cannot get back. So there's a lot to talk about. And,
Yeah, there
and
is.
there's also really good numbers too, because if you go and shop in your supermarket, $15, 15% of your dollar stays in your local community. But if you go to the farmer's market, over 70% is staying in your local community. So that's an economic equation. And I just try to like build awareness about how important your support of small farmers is.
I love that. And those are amazing numbers because I have a handful of accounts that I follow and have heard farmers talk about losing farms. But you can't, when you get a snippet, a 30-second reel on Instagram, you can't process what's happening. And here and there, I've collected these little nuggets of things, and I'm like, what's happening?
Mhm.
And but I
It has
haven't
a real
seen the whole
impact
picture.
on your community and on you, and you don't feel it until it's too late, right? And so that's why the
Right.
awareness is so important because if you look at the small farmers that we've supported, and the reason I'm so proud of 48 states is that this is an ecosystem. It's an
Right.
ecosystem of small farmers. And
A
so
hundred
when, for
percent.
example, in the suburbs of Kansas City or in New Hampshire or Connecticut or California,
Where I
farmers are
live, right?
struggling with regulations, they're struggling with suburban families saying
We're
they don't want to
all
farm nearby,
right,
all of that. It is all connected, right? So if you see
right,
it happening in Texas, you should worry about it in your backyard.
right. And I mean, California, we've had and those are the farmers that I follow. A lot of water situations in California, a lot of politics. The politics that these farmers are have to go through sometimes are ridiculous, and it's just endless. The challenges that seem to be the hurdles that are thrown over and over in front of the people
Mhm.
that are there to feed and provide us, and not to mention, my husband had a health situation a couple of years ago that kind of changed our perspective on really looking at what we eat. And, and to your point of sometimes it's a little too late when you all of a sudden realize, wait, what? And we look at every last thing that goes into our mouths, grocery carts now very differently than we did before he was sick, right?
Isn't that
And
crazy that like I think
it,
that is
it took
I
that to
think it's a
happen,
thread. It's a thread and it is what I hear from people time and again. It's like, oh, we had a
right?
health scare and
Yeah,
so we shifted everything we ate. Now, why are
yeah.
you waiting for that? No offense, but why are we
Right. No, and
waiting
we
for that,
already
right?
ate we already ate. We live in California and we're super healthy. And my husband is the healthiest person anyone ever knew, which scared the heck out of him. But it was really, we were eating good food, but we weren't really looking at just bread, for example. We weren't looking at what's all the things that are in bread. We weren't looking at all the
Exactly.
things in our detergent. We weren't looking if our bell pepper is organic or it's not. And,
Exactly. But it happens. There are a lot of different reasons that people,
right.
people turn
And
to
so I think that
to their farmers. It's all of those.
one, it makes you start looking at bigger systems, to your point, and bigger ecosystems and bigger structures that keep us alive and thriving. So talk to me, since you can't be an entrepreneur and a nonprofit founder without being a dreamer and now without having a vision. So if you could dream any dream for farmers movement, what does that look like? What's the big dream?
Well, I'm living a lot of it at the moment, and so are the farmers. But I'd like to be able to. I mean, so for example, every year we're doing something different and bigger, and we went from that 6 grant experiment, and now we're at 100 grants a year for the last 2 years.
Welcome to the
And
nonprofit space. You're your own
yeah,
worst and best enemy.
and then in the coming year, we've already selected for 2026, we've selected 20 farms to consider for a $10,000 farm changing grant
Oh,
that
wow, that's great.
they'll provide us more information starting mid-January. We'll probably have some good conversations and go back and forth with them. And then we'll make that award the week of National Ag Week in mid-March, so on March 16th. So that's very exciting. And being
That's
able to
so
do
cool.
that, I think, as I mentioned before, um, there's no one size fits all. So for me, I think it's really important to continue to be creative and to think about what's important to the people I'm trying to bring closer to farmers. I think I have farmers'
Right.
attention now, but what I want to make sure is that I'm constantly bringing their customers closer. So
Right.
we're building friends of farmers here, and it's between, there's so many different ways that you can do this. You can nominate your farmer in 2026. You'll be able to do that all year long instead of in a small period during the fall.
Right.
In February, we send postcards to farmers thanking them for all of the work that they do. So people have signed up over the past few years to send those postcards. They get a kit in the mail of 10 postcards that are stamped. They get addresses and some tips on what they could say if they're at a loss for words. So that's really fun. I get notes from the writers saying how much it meant to them to be able to say thank you to their farmers. We have the
I
People's
love
Choice
that.
Awards. This past year, we piloted an event at a farmers market at the Minneapolis Farmers Market, which is one of the oldest and biggest. It's called Walk a Mile in a Farmer's Boots, again, to develop that empathy between from the customer toward that
Right.
farmer. And we're expanding that to 10 markets June, which is very exciting.
Wow, it's
And
awesome.
then we head back into grants in the fall. Um, and throughout all of that time, you have the opportunity to shop a farmer's wish list any day of the week that you want. Yeah, so
I
it's just
love that.
always trying to give people opportunities to do something good for farmers.
I think that's amazing. So, what life lessons have you learned on this journey, especially, since you've started all of this? What have you learned? What are the takeaways from this
Starting a
this
movement,
journey?
yeah, starting a movement is a crazy idea, and it's really, really hard. And I quip, but in the coaching group that I was in, I used to be in a group. I'm not in that anymore, but um,
Right,
I it was like a group of 6 or 7 women, and we would meet twice a week. And you kind of go around, you talk about what you're working on, and I'm like, well, I'm quitting today. I quit. I just quit. Throwing in the towel. This is hard. And yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I basically quit. They're like, oh, Dana, it looks like you've got it all going on. I was like, no, I don't. I'm quitting. Behind the scenes, I'm quitting like every other day.
right,
And I didn't quit. And I just, I Marlo Thomased it. I didn't take no for an answer. I just kept, well, that failed. So I'm just going to try this.
right,
I'm always looking to come up with something that gives people an opportunity to do something good that isn't painful to do. Some of the things that I offer are, absolutely painless. You can listen to the podcast, you can nominate your farmer.
right.
I give you things that take 5 minutes or 40 minutes or, $10,000 or $1. So I
Well,
think
and
that's
I
just
think
part of
that's
it.
it's not that when we find ourselves in these positions, starting these organizations, um, that we realize we're building community, that we realize we're building connection, that we realize and I love that you say this, giving people an opportunity to do something good because people don't know where to start. They want to do something. They're overwhelmed, they're busy to your point, and they just don't know where to start. And often when you just give someone an opportunity that's simple and small, like a wish list or writing a postcard or something that just isn't overwhelming, it's such a gift. And that's one of the roles that we have in this nonprofit space that I think we forget about sometimes. It's just giving someone an opportunity to do something good. It's as basic and beautiful and simple as that. It,
It
it's
is.
it's that's
I
really what it
agree.
is, right?
Yes. And still, you know, you have to figure out how to get them to just start. Because I
Right,
don't know one person. And matter of fact, you know what? If the farmers who are asking for grants are coming and giving $1, then so can you. And
right,
I mean, that's a goal. That's a real goal of mine. I mean, we're like around $200,000. I'm going to get to $1 million, $1 at a time. It's what I want.
right,
I'll
right.
still take the big dollars, but that $1 at a time, I want you to vote for your farmers. You don't even have to know them. Just vote for them. I promise you, I will find the best opportunities in our small farming community to support that will move the needle forward. I feel it and I see it happen. And, sometimes I'm giving somebody, a $500 grant. They're putting irrigation in their hoop house. That hoop house has been going on that irrigation for 4 years on a
Right.
$500 grant. And that farmer served on our review committee. So she can pay it forward and look, she's like, listen, I'm looking for the irrigation in the hoop houses because that's really meaningful.
Right. So,
So,
I mean, but I love that everyone is a part of it. And I also love I think the things that are the strongest are the things that are the simplest. And when you break it down to something like $1, everyone can do it.
mhm.
Everyone can participate. It doesn't mean anything. And I just know from running nonprofits that oftentimes the checks that I get from people, alumni of our program that are, kids and they send $25 or they send money from their allowance or their Christmas thing and they've been through our program. That $20 is so heartfelt versus not that I don't love the same thing. The big donations, they're lovely. They keep the lights on and they do a lot, but there's a lot of soul behind that small amount because it often comes with a big sacrifice. And
And people don't realize, but when we're sitting on this side opening up that check, we know it. We know that $25 is more than $25. And I think people on the other side are afraid to do that small amount because it feels so insignificant. And it's not.
I think that St. Jude's average donation is $21. And they get
Yeah.
big, big, big donations. So you show me how you get to an average of 21 because millions of people are giving, they're doing a math-a-thon and giving $5.
Right.
And all of that
Right.
does matter. It really does
It
matter. And
does.
I know it matters to our farmers to see it happening. We do a coffee day. We give up the price of your coffee and take a picture with your coffee cup and send it along. You know, Everybody wants to participate in that because it's something that we can do. Okay, I can do that.
Right. Right. We
Mhm.
can all do that. So do you think you've changed in all of this from your corporate self, pre-chickens, to who you are today?
Not
I'm sure you can
really.
pick up a chicken.
Oh, I can pick up a chicken.
I'm sure
I
you can
mean,
pick
I'm
up a
like
chicken
I
now.
have big animals. I'm a veterinarian. I'm a zookeeper. I'm an excellent housekeeper and bucket scrubber.
Do you
Um,
think you just reshifted your skills and gifts into a different
yeah,
way, or do you think
I
you've
think I'm very
changed?
much the same. I think I'm very much the same. I mean, I do love to work. So I'm just working under my own banner now, but
Right.
I'm just one of those people. I like to work. I like to figure it out. I like the challenges. I like to talk to people. I like to give you a reason. I like to hear why you don't believe it yet so that I can think about what I haven't done. I have like an almost an obsession with, okay, so I'm doing all the things. Tell me something I'm not doing. What is next?
Right.
I want anyone to show up and just say, well, you're not doing this.
Right.
I'm waiting for it.
Wow.
So I love um and some things like, some things take time. It took me a while. I've had a letter for many, many years, but it's just like the last 3 years that my letter has come out every single Tuesday, 52 weeks a year. My podcast is, in February, it will be 2 full years of not missing one Thursday. And before that, I
Wow.
did
And that's a
seasons.
commitment, and I know that.
It's a commitment. It's a commitment.
Yeah,
And
it
it's just
is.
something
Yep.
that once you build the muscles, you can
Right.
do it. And
15 years of my weekly letter. I know that, but my podcast, I have to say, sorry, listeners, as you know, it's kind of every other week. I'm not every Thursday yet. I can't do one. I can't commit to once a week just yet, but
yeah,
we're
so
close.
everybody has their thing, but I think the success of the movement is built on the small actions that I've taken every day to put things in front of you. And I mean, and I also have a life. I announced grants on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. I went live on Instagram. I sent an email. I went to meet a friend, and then I went shopping because my daughter had, 7 of her friends come over for dinner. I hadn't seen her friends in a long time. So I spent the rest of the
Right.
day, celebrating farmers as they celebrated, but I also was making, you know, dinner for 9 and, making my
And,
table nice and getting my Christmas tree up so that they could decorate it.
right. I mean, that is life and that is living. And really, a full, beautiful life is giving. And you're giving with your dinner, you're giving to your farmers, you're giving to your daughter and her friends, and that's where joy comes from. And
It is.
that's
It's a
that's really
tremendous
how
amount
we
of joy. Yes. And it's a
that's how we
privilege.
have, and that's how we get to a happy life.
Yeah.
That is what it is all about. It's really, we're all here to serve each other, in whatever way that is. And so, speaking of serving, tell us where we can support, follow, donate, volunteer, give, all of those good things
Well,
for our
everything that you
listeners.
need to know from giving $1 to sending a postcard to nominating your farmer to voting in People's Choice to finding wish list to listening to the podcast to getting on my list to get my letter every week that will fill you in on the new things. It's all on forfarmersmovement.com. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, which you can also find there, it is XOXO farm girl. That's the whole
I
thing.
love that. I love that. Jana, thank you so much. This has been so much fun, so inspiring, and it makes you've really opened my eyes and really, hopefully everyone listening's eyes to thinking a little bit bigger when they have that meal, go to the grocery store, go to the farmer's market, crack an egg, all of the things that we take for granted every day. So thank you. It's really been a gift.
You're so welcome. I think if they just connect one more dot than is connected now, like just to, just do that one thing. I have this fun little challenge that if everybody wants to try it, that I love to do, you can just go open your fridge. Like literally, just go open your fridge and look and see if you can figure out where the stuff comes from. And then just pick one item and make it more local. It's pretty easy to do. Just milk or eggs. So easy. And it's a great light bulb, and it's also fun to do with your kids.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This has just been the best.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Charity Matters podcast. I really enjoyed talking to Jana about what it takes to start a business that truly changes people's lives. I think her comment about giving people an opportunity to do something good was so inspiring and true. To learn more about these modern day heroes and entrepreneurs, visit us at charity-matters.com or connect with us on Instagram at Charity Matters. If you enjoyed our conversation, we would love it if you shared it with your family and friends. And please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It's the greatest gift you can give us. But more than that, thank you for caring, for believing in goodness, and for being a part of our movement. You are exactly what the world needs more of. And remember that together, we can make a difference. One small act of kindness at a time. Charity matters. See you next time.